I think most of the Churchill biographies refer to him in that period where he's so famous. He's winning World War II. And they forget that he was almost as famous worldwide when he was in his 20s and 30s. He was an incredible politician who had a lot of success early on. And that period is the one that's been neglected. And I sort of just zoomed in on that. And I thought, that's the point where you can stake your own territory out, because that period in his 20s and 30s hasn't been dealt with, and it's a wonderful story. Well, I just finished doing a book on Herman Melville and Moby Dick, the great story of a man trying to write what he thinks will be a masterpiece, and it comes out and it falls as flat as a book ever has. And he dies thinking he's a failure 40 years later. So I love these kind of almost mini epics, you know, the sort of story where you have a great problem or a great issue, somebody launches into this, tries to solve it or match it or trump it, and either things go in a spectacular fashion well, or they just fall apart and collapse. And I love those kinds of dramatic moments. And you know what? We've got a lot of stories like that. I mean, Franklin Roosevelt getting polio at the age of 40 and fighting back from that to become governor of New York from a wheelchair, and then president of the United States 4 times from a wheelchair. It's an extraordinary story. And I don't think it's still been properly told from the standpoint of a man with a profound disability who won't be stopped by that. When he gives his inaugural address and he says, "We don't have anything to fear but fear itself," people overlook the fact that the next line is that fear paralyzes us. And here this is being said by a man who's paralyzed and who's not using that as just a figure of speech. He knows what he's talking about. Because of the work I've done and the newspaper I worked for in London for so many years, I've been to, I think, almost all the states and certainly many foreign countries. I still come back here and I think it's so beautiful. I mean, the Wabash River, one of the most beautiful rivers, one of the most scenic rivers in America. And I often think we don't appreciate just how gorgeous this state is. Especially I'm partial to the southern part of the state with all of its beautiful hills and the rivers. But this is a wonderful place. It's very nice. People are great. Great place to work. I wouldn't really want to be elsewhere. It's funny, you often get more recognition in places like New York or London than you do in your own home state sometimes, because people aren't always following what you're doing, and these are big capitals where you have a lot of media. So the fact that Indiana finally says, "Hey, good job," I like that. It's nice to win awards, because even people who sell a lot of books never win awards. And I know people who've been very successful authors and they never win an award of any kind, not a substantial one. And they always regret that. And I think this is very nice to get that kind of recognition. It means a lot. The Glick family is already known for their generosity, but I was telling the family, I said, this is something that's almost like an investment in the culture of our state and in our capital city. It's a way of saying that we believe in literature, in books, and in our writers. And it's funny, this evening, Mayor Ballard was saying to me, of Indianapolis, was saying to me how he was struck in reading a book that at one time in the early 1900s, Indianapolis was thought of as a literary capital. We had General Lew Wallace in Crawfordsville who had written Ben-Hur. We had Booth Tarkington. We had Whitcomb Riley. So we had a lot going on here. And I think if we invest in it again, there's no reason why terrific writers can come out of this state. Vonnegut did, and many more, I'm sure.